Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Make sure to be subscribed if you're not already. Please give this video a big thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and make sure your post notifications are turned on. Today's video is going to be a motherhood Q&A. I asked you guys on Snapchat and Instagram for questions that you might have, anything motherhood related. Thank you to those of you that participate and actually ask questions, because I feel like the only way these kind of videos work is if you guys actually participate and ask questions. So I didn't get like a ton this time around, but I did get some really good ones. So I'm super excited. And I also wanted to do this just because maybe there's someone that isn't even married and you're genuinely curious, you know, motherhood, or you're hoping to become a mom one day. Or if you are married and you are almost a mom, you know, this video can be informative for you in many different ways. So we're just gonna get right into the video. None of these questions I like thought about that well ahead of time. I'm literally just gonna be speaking the truth, like right off the bat. Like pretty much whatever comes to mind. So let's get started. Did you plan to have kids so young? So I got married at 18, and that was really young. I mean, there's obviously some people that got married earlier. I was actually on my honeymoon when it was my high school graduation, and that still like kind of blows my mind. But when we were getting married, me and my husband always talked about that we would wait like 2 years before having children. And then after we got married, 6 months later, we're like, you know what? It's not going to be so bad if we get pregnant right now, because, I mean, we wanted to have a baby. That's really all that mattered. We were financially stable, and we're like, why not just have a child right now? So we got pregnant 6 months after we got married, and it honestly was probably the best decision we've ever made. So to answer the question, I feel like no, we didn't really plan to have kids right away when we got married. Obviously we wanted to wait a little bit, but after we got married and thought about it and talked about it, we figured it might be even better to have kids earlier rather than later. And we loved our decision, and we don't regret our decision. So the next question kind of ties in with the first question. It is, if you could have had kids later on, would you? The answer is no, because clearly we didn't. I mean, after we got married, we talked about it, and we wanted to have kids like 6 months later. Well, not 6 months, but get pregnant 6 months later. And honestly, we were so happy we did not wait, because like from where we are in life right now, like looking back, we're so blessed, and we would have not waited to have kids. The next question is, did you have any apprehension about getting pregnant and for the pregnancy to go smoothly, or were you pretty calm about it? I feel like I was pretty calm because of the way my pregnancies were starting out. Both of my pregnancies were super smooth and easy pregnancies. And I feel like if they started out really bad in the very beginning, then I probably would have been kind of anxious about how it would look towards the end of my pregnancy. But the fact that I had really smooth and easygoing pregnancies, I didn't, I wasn't apprehensive or anxious or anything like that. I was pretty much calm the whole time until like it came to the point where I had to give birth, but that's explainable. But pretty much really calm and not apprehensive at all. The next question is, how did you manage with a toddler and a newborn when your second one was born? I had 2 kids under the age of 2, and I feel like people over exaggerate. So I don't want to like say anything rude or offend anyone in any way, because that's not who I am. But I feel like when people, I'm not pointing to anyone specific, but when people have their first child, they're always like, oh, we're gonna wait at least 2 or 3 years before we have our second child. And that is normal. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's just how they want it to be. They want their kids, at least 2 years apart. And it makes sense, because first of all, the mom gets a break, and you just want your kids 2 years apart. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But for us, it was a little different, because we had Austin, and then the same thing. We're like, we're gonna wait at least 2 years. Austin was around 6 or 7 months old when we got pregnant with Isla. And like I said before, we talked about it, and we're like, you know what? It's not gonna be so bad if they're close in age. And so we got pregnant when Austin was 6 or 7 months old, I'm not sure. And Austin was a year and 2 months old, and Isla was a newborn. And it was actually not even that bad. I feel like a lot of people overreact that it's so hard, it's so hard. Obviously, it depends on your kids. It depends on just like your family situation. But for me, it was not even that hard. First of all, when Isla was a newborn, she slept a lot. And I felt like I was still able to have that one-on-one time with Austin. I feel like she was a calm baby compared to Austin, so that made it a lot easier also. It literally depends on the child too. The only thing that was hard at the newborn stage was when I was pumping, and I would have to get interrupted a lot because Austin was still a toddler and he still needed me for whatever. Arden would be working night shift a lot of the times, and I would have a newborn and I'm pumping and Austin needs me. So yes, there were days where it was hard. Even during the day, let's say I just put Isla down, Austin's up and I'm dealing with Austin, and then Austin goes down for a nap and then I'm dealing with Isla, and it was hard. But I would say the newborn stage was definitely easier than when Isla got older, because as soon as Isla got like 6-7 months old, that's when she started to sit, she started to be more alert, you know, she was grabbing stuff, and that's when I really needed to pay attention to both Austin and Isla to make sure that Austin wasn't like doing anything to her, to make sure that Isla was okay. So I feel like it was pretty much not even that hard for me. Like I said, literally the only time I feel like when it got a little bit difficult was the fact that Isla was older, and especially when she started to crawl, I had to make sure that both of them were fine at all times because he was still a toddler. But overall, my experience with 2 under 2 was good. How do you control your emotions when you are overwhelmed and haven't had any me time and the kids all need you at the same time? So this is literally such a good one because I struggle with this so many times. Not even so many times, literally on a daily basis, this is what I struggle with. How do I control my emotions? So I feel like I get overwhelmed the most, or not the most, obviously there's different situations, but I feel like lately, whenever it's the morning time and whenever it's my turn to have breakfast, I always make sure the kids are occupied doing something. Either, you know, they're watching something or they're occupied for like at least 30 minutes so that I can have me time. And that usually, you know, consists of me having breakfast in peace and quiet, because I can never have breakfast, or I feel like it's hard to have a meal when the kids are around you or, you know, in your way or whatever. And so I tend to get overwhelmed as soon as I sit down and it's like almost 12 p.m. and I didn't have breakfast yet. And I just sit down to have my breakfast and the kids are all over me. Austin wants this, Isla wants this, and they're satisfied. They already ate, you know, they're not thirsty, they're not hungry. They have something to do and they still need me. And that is when I start getting like frustrated or, you know, irritated, and I try to control my anger. But I feel like the most important thing that I do that actually helps is like stopping everything. Like I would literally walk away to the point where I don't hear my kids or to the bathroom, and I would just ask God for patience. Like I'm like, God, please give me patience. You see that I'm getting mad and irritated, and I'm just trying to have my breakfast in peace because I didn't eat and it's almost lunchtime. And literally that's what actually helps. Like I'm not even kidding, it helps. So I feel like that is like the most biggest thing that I usually do to control my emotions. Was labor how you expected it to be? I feel like yes and no. So I had different situations with both of my kids. If you didn't listen to my birth stories yet, you should. I have a video on it. But with Austin, I didn't go into natural labor, and with Isla, I did. So when I had one of my last doctor's appointments before giving birth, my doctor was explaining to me how the pain of contractions would feel. And she said that when you have contractions, the top of your belly is gonna tighten and then it would like release. And it would be painful. And so when I was having contractions with Isla, I was having that pressure, like the tightening feeling, really bad pressure and pain, but it was literally down here in my pelvic area. My stomach was not tightening up here. It wasn't anything up here. It was literally all down there and just super, super low. And so I feel like that's like pretty much the only biggest thing. It was definitely painful. Contractions were painful. Labor is definitely painful, so I expected it to be. But that was like the only thing, was that the contractions were kind of different than how my doctor was explaining them to me. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Another good question: what is one thing that you do really well as a mother, or something that you are proud of yourself for? There's a lot of things, if you really sit down and think about it, there's a lot of things that I say I'm proud of myself for. A big one is sleep training. I'm super, super happy that I sleep train my kids. Sleep training is one of the most important things for me when I was, a new mom. I feel like if I didn't sleep train my kids would be very different right now. I highly recommend you sleep train your kids if you're a mom, because I guarantee that it will help you in the long run. Another one is weaning my kids off pacifiers way before the age of 2. It was not easy. I feel like with Isla, it was a little bit harder. But with Austin, it was really easy because we actually went camping and we lost his pacifier at camp. And pretty much after that, he did not need his pacifier, which was really nice. Another one is showing my kids physical affection. I feel like no matter if they got hurt, or even like after they got disciplined, or even, for whatever situations where they're actually sad, I feel like I always tend to give a hug, like afterwards, like after they've already cooled off, because I feel like that is an important thing, especially for kids at their age, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, even 1-year-olds, because they actually know that their parents care for them and you're showing them love and affection. So I feel like that is very important. Like physical touch is very important. Another thing is teaching the kids the Lord's Prayer. Every single night we say the Lord's Prayer in Russian, and Austin knows it almost all by heart. He obviously doesn't know a few words because he's not going to say it in pure Russian. That makes sense. But it's like a ritual, and they know that we do it every day, and they learned it, and I feel like that is very important. This question is kind of funny, but it was kind of random, but it said, didn't you have a puppy with 2 under 2 also? And it made me think back to that time in our life, and it's funny because we did. We literally had a puppy when both of the kids were under 2 years old. So I don't even know, I feel like the main thing for us was the fact that we got a dog just because we wanted to get a dog for when the kids are young and for when the kids are still babies, so the dog can get used to the kids and the kids can get used to the dog. So we got Nala at 8 weeks, and Isla was about, I don't even remember, like 7 months old, I would say. I don't know, 8 months old. And Austin was, still a toddler. It's crazy. We were living in a condo. Austin was young, Isla was young, and we had a dog. And it was hard. I don't even remember how I dealt with it, but we had to potty train the pup, dealing with 2 children. So it was hard. It was hard because when you live in a condo, you don't have room to just let the dog out. And so we were, I feel like, in the process of looking for a house, and it was hard because I had to take the dog out. I put the kids to sleep, take the dog out for a walk, try to train it, lock it back in the cage or in the garage. So it was hard, cleaning up after the puppy, making sure the kids don't get into like poop or pee from the dog. It was just, yeah, but we did it, and I'm so glad we did, because now our kids love the dog and they're not scared of it. And Nala loves the kids and knows the kids and is super gentle with kids. That is like super important when you are trying or planning on getting a dog. Highly recommend getting a dog when the kids are young. Advice for a new mom: I would say to make sure that you get your sleep when the baby is sleeping. Even have someone come over so that you can nap and they can watch the baby. When Austin was born, my sister came over and she was able to watch him while I napped because I was exhausted, and it helped so much. So I feel like that is definitely something that you should do. Another thing I would say is try to relate with someone else that is on your level. So let's say there's another mom that you can talk to that is kind of going through the same thing you're going through, or maybe a sibling that's already had a child too, or even your mom, you know, or your mother-in-law, or whoever you have in your life that has kind of went through what you went through, or is on the same kind of level that you are in. I feel like that is very important so you can relate to them, and so that you know that you're not the only one in the situation that you're going through. And honestly, just rest. Like, rest whenever you can. Like, if the baby is resting, you're resting. Like I said, like, sleep when the baby is sleeping. Like, take a bath. Like, just take some time to rest your body because you need it. Like, you know, baby's awake all night. You're probably in pain from, you know, birth and from breastfeeding, or, you know, whatever. Or if you're not breastfeeding, you're just mentally drained from making sure your baby's getting enough food. So taking time to rest, I feel like, is so important. Do you use a schedule for your kids for nap times or bedtimes? And yes, I do. I actually forgot to mention this, but this is another thing that I'm proud of, is having schedules for the kids. So obviously we don't have a schedule every single day. That's just ridiculous. But I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you have a schedule that works for you every single day of the week, Monday through Sunday, that's awesome. But I'm saying like a schedule for when they go to bed, when they take a nap, then yes, I do have a schedule, and we've been using that ever since they were born. So right now they go to bed usually at the same time, anywhere between 12 and like 1:30ish. That's usually when they have a nap. And I like putting the kids down together just because that is better for me. Right now, Austin is actually slowing down with his naps, so he skips naps all the time. But usually that's when nap time is, and then bedtime is anywhere between 8 and 8:30. Sometimes I feel like right now it's not even 8, it's more like 8:30ish. I usually try to have them in bed every day by 8:30. That's if we're not out somewhere else. Like the holidays just passed, and we were obviously, you know, having to go to parties and stuff, so they were staying up, and they would just fall asleep on the way home, and we would just transfer them to their beds. And also, right now, I feel like they've actually been waking up later. They're usually up between like 6:30 and 7:30, but lately they've been sleeping until almost 8, which is a plus. And so I feel like they even get even more rest right now. I don't know. I feel like I can't just not have a bedtime for my kids, because I can't just let them have, you know, I can't let them just go to bed at 12 a.m. every single day. That's crazy. Like, they're overtired, they're like overstimulated. They're tiny kids, they're babies, they're toddlers. They need their full nights of sleep, their full nights of rest. So I feel like having a bedtime is definitely needed. Last question I'll be answering is, how do you discipline your kids? I think this means kind of like what I do, like if they're in trouble, or like if they need like some like reflecting time. So for us, it works to put the kids on timeout. That's usually what we do. Like, usually the couch is timeout, or we moved actually the couch that was downstairs into the upstairs room, into the playroom. And so that is another area where they have timeout right now too. Because our house, we have like the separate living area, and then we have the fireplace in the wall right here, and then we have the other like dining area in the kitchen. So it's kind of nice because whenever we're on that side of the house and the kids need a timeout, it's usually one kid at a time. We just have them sit on timeout on the couch, and it's kind of nice because they're kind of separated from us. And so I usually set a timer on my phone. For example, if Austin's 3, he gets 3 minutes. Isla's 2, she gets 2 minutes of timeout. And it honestly helps, because even though they're frustrated, like, they go on timeout, like, because they know they're in trouble. And even though they're frustrated and mad and they're still throwing a tantrum, they get those 2-3 minutes of just being alone and nobody touching them, nobody looking at them, you know, being ignored and having their little tantrum and their quiet time. And it helps, and that's what works for us. And we've been doing that for you know, a long time. So, and that is it. That is all the questions I'll be answering. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you like this video. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys next time.